Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we return with round 11 of the F1 22 Haas Road to Glory here for Season 2 and the Austrian GP weekend. Yes, we're back once again, of course. This series has been doing pretty well so far during Season 2. You know, we've had a lot of very solid races. Last time out, the British Grand Prix. If you missed it, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. But yeah, heading to the Styrian Mountains, of course, this has actually been a track in the past that has suited Haas's car quite well in real life. And we do tend still to see a bit of correlation between the real-life success of the team and in the Haas Road to Glory. Of course, ours is normally a little bit more successful, but it's because we put the work in so far this series. Of course, there will be spoilers in just a moment as well, so if you haven't missed, if you have missed last video, would highly recommend going back and checking it from Silverstone. But yeah, I just want to say as well a massive thank you to all of you for the continued support. 96,000 subscribers, ticked off. We're well on our way towards 97,000 now. So, you know, if you're watching this and you haven't clicked that big red button, it would be greatly appreciated if you would do so down in the just below me in this shot. But yeah, championship-wise, of course, the battle's still raging on, mainly between myself and Max Verstappen at this point of the season. Just 6 points separate us as we head to Austria. Of course, Red Bull's home Grand Prix this weekend as well, so it'd be nice to deliver a bit of a hammer blow to them at their home event. Red Bull, though, they're quite far out in the Constructors' League, but we have now jumped Ferrari into P2. Yes, the team that supplies us with our engines, we're now beating, which is kind of a nice feeling, but we'll wait and see how long it lasts. It really does depend on how well Kevin Magnussen does over the next few weekends as well there. Performance-wise, we're still sat with a little advantage at the front of the field. We've got more and more upgrades in the works as well, but let's get into it though. Austrian Grand Prix, of course, we've got the sprint race and the feature race today. This one is probably going to be action-packed. Here we are then, qualifying for the Austrian Grand Prix, and if free practice is anything to go by, looks like Kevin Magnussen might actually be up to pace this weekend. Of course, quite important though that we don't look solely and reliantly on free practice times, because a lot can change when you get into a qualifying run. It's a bit like looking at winter testing and instantly assuming that Ferrari are going to win the championship each year. But yeah, just got to try and get one lap hooked up then around the Belgian Grand Prix, the Austrian Grand Prix circuit. Belgian Grand Prix will be going live very soon in the My Team series, but certainly not just yet. Too busy looking forward at the moment, Matt. But yeah, just got to try and get this lap nailed. Of course, Austria, easy to learn, difficult to master. Well, that's not the line through the penultimate corner there, lifting out the throttle to make sure we don't gain an advantage from it. But out of the final turn up towards the line, 104.2 puts us P6. That is awful. Right, well, less than a minute left on the clock then. Everyone either finishing or about to start their last run, so trying to find some space on this Austrian Grand Prix circuit. It's quite difficult there as Alex Albon tucked up under my rear wing out of the final turn. Let's try and make sure that we get a good improvement on the board then. We need about half a second. Sector 1 was pretty good last time round. It was the rest of the lap that we struggled, but not getting the best run out of turn 1 up the hill. Going to be another awful lap then of the Austrian Grand Prix circuit. Cannot get the time, and that's going to be P10 on the grid here. We're meant to be in a championship fight. I cannot be qualifying P10 all too often.
Qualifying finished, it's time to remind ourselves once again of our top three: Verstappen, Perez and Lewis Hamilton. Well, that wraps up qualifying, but don't worry, we'll be back tomorrow as we head into the Grand Prix.
I guess the only team that did a worse job than us there was Ferrari, but Red Bull front row lockout, Mercedes lockout row 2 ahead of McLaren on row 3. So yeah, nightmare start to the weekend here from Austria, but we have got 12 extra laps of sprint racing as well, so it should give us a chance to try and recover some places. I'm probably going to go risky on the strategy again, but even if we just found a 10th, it could have put us up with Kevin Magnussen. We've got a lot of work to do.
Forget pit stops, forget fuel management. It's pedal to the metal all the way here as we get ready for today's sprint. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, edging out Sergio Perez, who lines up P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Hamilton, Russell, Lando Norris and Ricciardo, Magnussen, Sainz, Albon and Mr. Monaco, Gasly, Ocon, Yuki Tsunoda and Leclerc, Vettel, Mick Schumacher, Valtteri Bottas and Guan Yu Zhou, Latifi and Lance Stroll brings the grid to a close. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We'll soon find out.
Okay, now that we've got some good points on the board, let's continue this form and aim for another top 10 finish.
Mark, you could not be further from the truth today. We need a big, aggressive drive here in Austria. It reckons we can't make the soft tires work, but honestly, we've just got to try and throw caution to the wind today and gamble it big time there. 12 laps on the softs, of course, pretty easy in the My Team car now. Of course, we've just got so many upgrades to it, but the Haas car, it does chew through its tires a little bit more, but we have to just gamble it. It's just going to be a case of trying to jump as many cars as we can early on, and then probably parking the bus in the second half of this sprint. Everyone else is on mediums. There might be a couple of people lurking around on the hards towards the rear of the field, but we've just got to go for it. Right, heading around the final corners there, about to line up on the grid here for the Austrian GP. Oh no, I was literally about to say I do not want to put too much through these tyres on the formation lap, because we're going to need to look after them as best as possible on the launch, so just trying to be careful as we head up towards the line. There we go, purple score. Not my best lineup in the world, but that'll do. Yeah, that one, I mean, it's Austria on F122. It's going to be chaotic. As long as we don't get the glitch like we did in the My Team series, we should be okay. 5 red lights, and it's lights out, and away we go. And still a little bit of wheel spin there as we try and put the power down. Gasly and Ocon, both Frenchmen, getting past me as well. We're going to get absolutely swamped there. Someone trying to steamroll their way around the outside there. Yuki Tsunoda has gained like 3 places at the start, and I think that was Charles Leclerc, another driver that needs to be aggressive on lap 1, but the Red Bulls still lead the way as we head up the hill. And what is Pierre Gasly doing? Whoa, I was going to try and get to the inside of plenty of cars there. Somehow we've gone down the middle of 3 of them, and we are now up into P9 of the GP, but that all got a little bit chaotic there as look at Kevin Magnussen go to the outside of Charles Leclerc. To Carlos Sainz even as we head down the hill. I think both Haas cars know, we've really got to be trying to get in with the McLarens and the Mercs today. Maybe the Red Bulls will just have a little bit more pace on this Saturday afternoon, but decent start for ourselves. Then up into P9 of the Grand Prix. Already, that's a lot of understeer as we head down the hill. Tyre life only on 5 and 8% respectively. So yeah, that's alright. We should be able to make this work. I haven't put 15% through them or anything like that before the race has even got going here. But Verstappen still leads the way then at the end of that one. He's got a golden opportunity this weekend to open up his championship lead. But we have got to make sure that we are making decisive moves there. Magnussen doesn't get the best run out of turn 1. Thank you very much, good sir. Hopefully he's not going to put up too much of a fight. Often we do find our teammates, though, on the F1 games are some of the most aggressive drivers. So we'll just cover K-Mag off at the top of the hill. And we are now P8. I can see Sainz as well. They're desperate to try and get a run on Daniel Ricciardo out of turn 1. But we've now got the DRS to the outside of Carlos as we head up the hill. Will the smooth operator be able to do anything? He's actually going to think about a move up the inside of Daniel Ricciardo. Though we have to break deep into the corner just in case there was any contact between them. But fantastic traction out of turn 2, or technically turn 3. I still believe that's turn 2 in my mind, but yeah, up now into P7 as well. We've got yellow flags out. Someone's got issues. Oh no, it's one of the Mercs. Lewis Hamilton out of the Austrian Grand Prix there on just lap 3 of the sprint. So he's going to have a long afternoon tomorrow to try and recover some places, but that promotes us to P6 in this race. Yeah, Yeah, I don't think we're going to be boxing in this race, funnily enough. Mark there as Ricciardo that time around actually gets a pretty tidy run out of turn 1. He's going to need to try and stay in the DRS of his teammate there as McLaren really have pushed on quite well in terms of development in Season 2, but look, the inside Ricciardo's going to keep the nose. Can we get a run around the outside at the top of the hill? Yes, we can, but big amount of wheel spin off the corner there. That might leave us a bit vulnerable, but I think we've got enough straight line speed to cover off from Daniel Ricciardo, and we're now up to P5. Every lap still, we are setting PBs in this Grand Prix. That probably is not going to help us though as we get down at turn 1 as Lando Norris, George Russell now disputing the final final podium paying position even here. I should say it's going to be 3 Brits going up against each other. Of course, all 3 of us as well in some pretty big battles in the My Team series. So really, yeah, the cream has risen to the top. But we need to try and find a way past Lando or hope that he starts battling with George. In the perfect world, those Red Bulls would be duking out as well, but I can't help but feel that Perez might be told just to hold station. Oh, Lando Norris again kicks out the back end through turn 1 though as they so desperately try and put the power down there, and we're going to go straight past the McLaren. Might be able to get a run on the Merc as well. Look at the straight line speed this Haas car has got there as we get up towards turn 3, round the outside of George Russell, and that's how you pull off a double overtake here in the Austrian Grand Prix. And 6 laps in, we've gained 7 places in this GP, but now of course the tyre wear is going to start to kick in a little bit more. We have got to just keep going and pray that those Red Bulls start to duke it out and that we can get out the range of Russell. That might make things easier as something's happened to George Russell behind us. He's absolutely just sat there. And we can see now riding with George Russell as he heads down through the middle sector here. I think it's going to be a rear puncture that's going to be the end of his afternoon. Yep, look at that, just over the curb, and it wasn't even the tyre over the curbs, but George Russell there, a catastrophic puncture, does a very good job to hold it on the circuit, but that means no one behind him is able to get round him there, and George Russell is left limping back to the pit lane. Well, whatever's happened to George Russell then has potentially made the second half of this race a whole lot quieter for myself. We're still running in P3, but now we've got a 9-second lead to the cars behind, and the Red Bulls are just pulling away in front as our tyres start to fade. Oh, yellow flag's out. We've got a safety car. Okay, safety car now in this Grand Prix. Not too sure what's gone on. We'll have to have a look on the replays. Well, I think that was one of the McLarens there. It must have been Lando Norris. As could we box onto a fresh set of softs? I don't think we've come out where we need to. Where? No, it's not worth risking, surely. We may as well just try and hang out there. But that is going to make things interesting then in the dying stages of this Grand Prix. The fact that we are now going to be on pretty worn-out tyres against a lot of very competitive cars. We're riding on board then with Lando Norris as he heads in towards turn 1 there, still trying to apply pressure to his teammate Daniel Ricciardo, and in towards turn 1. Oh, just loops it over the curb in there, and that causes carnage behind as loads of cars going in there, losing their front wings. You can see that's got to be what? One of the Alpha Tauris, Charles Leclerc, one of the Aston Martins, and I think Zhou Guanyu got involved in that one, and that's what's brought out the safety car. Well, under safety car then, I do keep forgetting to disable the broadcast safety car on F122, but Verstappen leads the way ahead of Perez. We're still rocking in P3. I'm praying the team do not box our car there, but Norris, Leclerc and Russell all way down the order. Hamilton, of course, out of this GP as well. Mick Schumacher in the Williams is in P10. Obviously no points available for 10th, of course, in the sprint race, but could something crazy happen that allows Williams to score some points here? Right, safety car in then. 2 more racing laps to go then from the Austrian GP sprint, and as always, Austria does like to deliver some carnage then, but Red Bull are just going to try and get going out of the final corner. Can we try and stick close with them, or are we going to be under pressure from Daniel Ricciardo and his McLaren behind? Luckily, we'll be able to use plenty of battery to try and keep the McLaren at bay there as well. Look at Checo Perez. Immediately a big wobble there from the Red Bull car. Could we try and get in the mix between them by the end of this GP to the outside of Checo as we head up the hill? Well, that Red Bull as well has got some pretty strong straight line speed there. Very, very deep on the brakes at the top of the hill there, and a big, big wobble off the corner, and that might cost us. It does. Daniel Ricciardo now squeezes his way around the outside. We've got to try and keep the nose there against the Australian as we head down the hill. Surely we can just kind of squeeze him out, but again, you can just see how badly these tyres are going off late on in the day, and that might be the lifeline that Red Bull needed there. Checo Perez left it a little bit vulnerable for just 1 second, but Max Verstappen still at the front of the field there. Looks like he is going to walk on with a dominant display in the second sprint race of the year, but we've just got one more lap then to try and hold off Danny Rick. So we head through the final couple of turns there, just trying to make sure we get the car. Whoa! It's still loose and lively. These tyres are absolutely going off despite a couple of laps behind the safety car. This is sketchy moments in the Austrian Grand Prix. We've just got to make sure we're clean and tidy on the throttle in the traction zones there. And you can see Daniel Ricciardo again doesn't get a particularly good run out of turn 1. We need Kevin Magnussen to try and score some good points as well in the sister car, but as we head up towards the top of the hill, just nice and easy, nice and smooth on the throttle. There's Ricciardo now under pressure from Carlos Sainz as well, and looks like the Spaniard might be able to move up into P4 then of this GP, but we took a big gamble in this sprint race, and I'm happy to say today that it is well and truly paid off here. We kind of got a bit lucky. That safety car might have saved us even more pain, but of course it did allow those other cars to get very close for the second half of the GP again. But rounding through the final few turns, Max Verstappen is going to get the sprint race victory today and open up an extra 2-point lead in the championship. But this is when sprint racing works, when it gives you a chance to be back where you belong in Formula 1 at the final corner. It's P10 to P3.
Yes, come on, we're on the podium. Good job this weekend, great drive, thank you.
So let's see what effect this result has had on the drivers' standings. Max Verstappen should be pleased with his performance, making gains at the top of the table. It's time to check out the constructors' standings. And pulling further ahead in the standings, it's Red Bull. The grid is set then, so that just leaves the race itself. Join us tomorrow where we'll be live with all the action. And until then, goodbye.
Well, what another crazy sprint race it's been from the Austrian GP. They're 10th to 3rd for ourselves, but hats off. Zhou Guanyu, 18th to 8th during that sprint race. That is absolutely bonkers from the Alfa Romeo driver there to pick up a point for that team. It does mean championship-wise, the gap at the top does open up to 8 points there behind Max Verstappen. But, you know, if we win tomorrow with the fastest lap, we could certainly, well, obviously we'd be tying at least with him in the championship. But Red Bull are looking very strong this weekend. Kevin Magnussen does take a few points out of George Russell in their little battle there. Lewis Hamilton just having a shocking year down in a P9 overall. Zhou Guanyu, that's his first point of the year. Just leaves Lance Stroll and the Williams yet to score in this championship. Constructors-wise, though, we do open up a little bit of a margin of safety ahead of Ferrari as well. Behind us then, 9 points now the gap as we head into the main event tomorrow. But yeah, starting P3 is much better than starting P10. Hopefully we can try and give the Red Bulls a bit of a run for the money in the main event. Let's get into it here from Austria.
Good afternoon and welcome to Spielberg, and to a circuit that in one form or another has held every Austrian Grand Prix in the championship except the very first back in 1964. It was at this race that John Watson lost a bet and his beard when he took Team Penske's only F1 victory in 1976. If anything, the stakes are even higher today, with 25 points available for victory and a crucial advantage in the championship fight. It's one of the shortest laps on the calendar today then, with 7 rights and just 3 lefts, making up the 10 corners of this high-speed circuit. Turn 2 is barely a corner at all. They'll be flat out through there, a left-hand kink into the uphill braking zone of Turn 3. Turns 1, 3 and 4 are all potential opportunities to overtake. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position. Sergio Perez lines up alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Mr. Monaco, Ricciardo, Kevin Magnussen and Albon, Sainz, Zhou, Vettel and Mick Schumacher, Leclerc, Latifi, George Russell and Norris, Gasly, Ocon, Valtteri Bottas and Yuki Tsunoda, Stroll and Lewis Hamilton rounds off the grid. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you with us here, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, How do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the run down into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
Right, well, here we are then on the grid, ready for the feature race from this Austrian GP. Of course, sprint race was absolutely fantastic. You know, we couldn't really ask for much of a better showing in Saturday's action, but Sunday is where, of course, the big points are delivered. And if anything, we need to really try and give Red Bull a big run for their money. Not going too risky on the strategy, though. Mediums to hards today, of course, after we did the soft tyre run yesterday, and it looks like everyone is following suit as well, and we don't get the clutch glitch. We just hit the anti-stall that time, but we have got to really focus. Right, we're getting ready to line up then on the grid. Perez practically pushing his teammate Max Verstappen along as we head out of the final corner, but let's see what we can do then here in Austria. Checo there trying to get some heat into the tyres. Red Bull essentially just trying to psych me out there as Verstappen doesn't quite, there we go, doesn't quite throw me off on the grid. But let's get into this thing then. Austrian Grand Prix, we've got plenty of cars out of position. This is where things could get very, very spicy then. Verstappen on the pole, our big championship rival. Charles Leclerc, our other rival, way down the order though, in about P11 if I remember correctly, but waiting on those 5 red lights here in Spielberg. Lights out, and away we go. And look at that, Checo Perez, a monstrous start there. Both cars on the inside, on the front 2 rows there, getting away really well there as we head down in towards turn 1. Oh, contact with Alex Albon as he tries to squeeze me out off the road, but we're trying to avoid having any of that there as Perez straight into the lead of the Austrian Grand Prix as we head up towards turn 2. We cannot afford to go behind Albon early on in this GP. I think that was Magnussen as well, potentially trying to make it 3 wide there as we get the car slowed down at the top of the hill there, and we'll just out traction Albon off of turn 3, so absolutely critical there that we only lost the 1 place at the start. But again, we cannot afford to let the Red Bulls get away. As look at Alex Albon still getting involved in this battle there, the Alpine driver. A bit of an odd move, but it absolutely working so far. And so Albon there won't quite be able to complete it. So we head down the hill. Still got to try and get temperature into these tyres, of course. Obviously haven't ran the mediums pretty much all weekend. They did a couple of laps in free practice, but nothing more than that, of course. And everyone else has already got some pretty valuable data from the medium tyres in this weekend by courtesy of the sprint race yesterday. But looks like Kevin Magnussen trying to pull off a move on Albon through the final corner. They're not able to do anything that time around as Checo Perez will lead at the end of lap 1. Further down the order, looks like Hamilton hasn't been able to make any progress either from the rear of the field. Charles Leclerc there, I'd imagine, has moved past Mick Schumacher. Of course, Williams with a golden opportunity to try and score some points today, but already Verstappen trying to apply pressure to Sergio Perez at the front of the field again. We need to try and get around Ricciardo. Well, we are going to be within the DRS range then of Daniel Ricciardo as we head up the hill, and we already know just how good this car is in a straight line. But will Verstappen be able to apply pressure to Perez as we head up towards turn 2? They're making it very, very clear to Daniel Ricciardo. It's the battle of the late breakers at the top of the hill, but we do muscle our way to the inside of the McLaren there, and we will pull off the move. Only on lap 3 of this GP, and we're back to where we started as Albon and Magnussen already fighting a bit further back. The top 8 are already quite spread out in this GP, but I want to get closer to the front 2. No! Oh, don't do this. We have been absolutely cursed at the Austrian Grand Prix so far on F1 22. I do not want our main event coming to an end after just 3 laps. Surely not, EA. Fastest lap of the day. It's pointless. I cannot believe that. I cannot believe that. When am I going to get some luck on F1 22, no matter what series it is? Austria just seems to be a nightmare weekend for us. An absolute disaster. What can I do on this game? Honestly.
A fantastic team effort then to secure victory here in the Styrian Alps. What do you think it was today, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition?
I'd say it was down once again to good, consistent driving, nailing the corners, working to the track conditions and perfecting the team's strategies. They got all of these things right today and the results speak for themselves.
Red Bull are our winners today after showcasing some incredible driving. There's been a huge push from them lately to stay competitive with the other teams, and they're certainly proving themselves. So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. Max Verstappen should be pleased with his performance, making gains at the top of the table. Some amazing talent out on the track today, but Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
I think for driver of the day, I'd probably pick Lando Norris. He lived up to every inch of his reputation today, and I think he'll be going home, quite rightly, a bit proud of himself.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. And pulling further ahead in the standings, it's Red Bull. It's been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action. I can't wait to see what's next.
I don't know what to say. Austria apparently now is my cursed track on F1 22 there, but Max Verstappen will get another race victory, 26-point lead instantly there, opened up in the Drivers' Championship. I'm just going to have to start removing Austria from whatever series we do on this game apparently there, but that's going to give us a mountain to climb in the second half of the season. Perez P2 ahead of K-Mag there with Lando Norris and Ricciardo. Another solid result for McLaren with Sainz, Russell, Albon. Hamilton did recover to score a couple of points there, somehow beating out Charles Leclerc, but just lost for words this weekend. I mean, the sprint race was fantastic. We were the only car that failed to get to the checkered flag there, and despite Williams' promising start, they still ended up last and second to last by the end of the weekend. But that means when all is said and done, we lose out 28 points to the Dutchman this weekend. Then Magnussen, though, you know, a well-earned podium for him, certainly does the team a few favours, of course, as well, when we get screwed on F1 22. But yep, the gap at the top now, 34 points to Max Verstappen as we leave the Austrian Grand Prix there. Checo now just 11 points behind myself as we leave the Styrian Mountains. It's been the perfect weekend for Red Bull, maximum points scored for them. Charles Leclerc still in P4 ahead of Lando Norris, Carlos Sainz there, but Magnussen somehow still ahead of George Russell after another decent result there. Ricciardo P9 ahead of Lewis Hamilton further down the rostrum. And I mean, look at that. So many cars with just 3 or less points there. Both Alfa Tauris, both Alfa Romeos, both Astons and both Williams. It really is a case of just 6 teams taking the lion's share of the points in this series. Constructors-wise, though, luckily again, because of K-Mag's good result, we have continued to open up the gap to Ferrari as well. 96 points, though, behind Red Bull as we just head over the halfway stage of the year. I think it's safe to say they are probably going to be Constructors' champions come the end of the season. But again, I'm just gutted that I haven't been able to give you guys a full race from the Austrian GP there. I just can't seem to get any luck on F1 22, it would appear. But thank you all so much for watching nonetheless. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed as well, and we will be back very, very soon, back with a vengeance here in the Haas Road to Glory. None of these videos would be possible without the help of our channel members, so a massive thank you to all of the names you see on your screens currently for helping support the channel. You can join them by clicking the join button down below, and yeah, thank you once again to everyone that continues all the insane support on my work.